Hey now, what's up everyone? So, apparently I missed a couple of questions from the first video that I made, and so when I said that I would do a part 2, I got even more questions from people, so I'm going to try to do all of them right here and right now. Thanks again for these questions, and here we go. First up, Luann DeLuca. My question is, my top 2 TV horror contenders, in my humble opinion, are Hannibal and American Horror Story, neither of which I see you talk about. Do you not follow them? I would love to see your comments on at least one of these shows. I tried to watch Hannibal. I watched maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes of season 1, and I couldn't really get into it. I mean, I thought there was some interesting stuff to it, but I didn't know how much I cared about yet another prequel to a character that I know. But obviously, once I stopped watching, I start to hear good things about it, especially season 2. So maybe, just maybe, I will give it another chance. As far as American Horror Story goes, I just started watching this show. I'm actually on season 3 right now. I've recorded a review for season 1 and for season 2, so I just haven't posted that yet. But yes, I am definitely trying to catch up on American Horror Story. She has a second question. What has happened to Sinister 2, The Conjuring 2, or Paranormal Activity 5, not to be confused with the marked ones, which was not a part of the franchise? Okay, so I looked this up because I was too a little curious on what happened to these movies. Some of these movies you hear they're coming and then you don't hear anything for months. And usually with horror, that's what happens. There's just not as much news to release for these movies. But Sinister 2 is, as we speak, scheduled to come out in August of 2015. So, I don't know, I guess we just have to wait for a trailer to that. The Conjuring 2 is scheduled to come out in June of 2016, so that's a little bit away. It still says that it's going to be directed by James Wan, but I doubt that because he said he's getting out of horror, unless he changes his mind. Who knows? As far as Paranormal Activity goes, I guess they're not going to number them anymore. The next one, it was supposed to be Paranormal Activity 5, but now they're calling it The Ghost Dimension. So there's no date, it just says the first quarter of 2015, so it could be within the next couple of months. It also says that they're trying to do it in 3D. What the fuck? Really? A found footage horror movie in 3D. Wow. I guess you can tell I have no interest in that. Thomas Pollock. When did you start making YouTube videos, and what was it like when you started out? I started making these videos, I'd say, maybe 4.5 years ago, purely for fun. I would watch some people on YouTube review stuff and make videos, and I liked them, but it looked like something fun and a cool way to meet people who might share your thoughts, and so that's really why I did it. It was a little weird at first to like go back and, as I was posting my videos, watch myself or hear my voice. It sounded weird, and I had to get used to that. But now it's second nature. I'm so used to it. How have you found the movie YouTube community over time? I mean, like at first it was weird. Like some people would be like kind of dicks and assholes and just constantly criticize. I mean, some criticism I welcome, because some of that has helped me, I think, become better with my reviews and videos. I think just certain things here and there, but it's the way you do it. Some people are just, you know, they're assholes, and you know, that sucked. But now I feel like I have some of the coolest and nicest people watching my videos, so that's why I love doing this, because of the nice people. What's your favorite decade of film? I'm going to say the 90s purely because that's what I grew up on. That's what I know the most as a kid, watching so many movies. And then when I go back and watch those same movies, I get those similar nostalgic feelings on being a kid and how I felt. So I love that period. Do you aspire to work in the film industry or even to be a professional critic? Yes. I mean, my goal in a perfect world would be director or writer. That'd be awesome. But dude, a professional critic, like, to get paid to watch and review movies, you can't ask for a better job than that, at least for me. Film Buff 06, who do you think would win in a fight, the Joker or Darth Vader? I mean, my first instinct is to say Darth Vader because he has the Force, right? But then again, the Joker, he's used to dealing with superheroes or people with powers. I mean, not Batman, but, you know, he's faced the Justice League before. He's faced Superman, and he somehow, not that he wins, but he might know a thing or two on how to get in Darth Vader's head. Who knows? Interesting question. Philip Bachta. Hey, what movie should I go see tomorrow in theaters? I mean, like, if this might have been like a week ago, this question. Like, if this person's being serious, I would see probably... Crap, American Sniper hasn't come out yet. It's so weird, because I went to a screening for that over a month ago. I thought it was supposed to come out on Christmas, and it didn't come out. It's not coming out till like a couple more weeks. Taken 3 just came out. I don't know. I don't know what you should see. I hate Facebook 31184. What's your favorite character in the Back to the Future series? I'd love to say Doc Brown because I quote him in his lines the most, but it has to be Marty McFly. He's the most relatable. He has his funny moments as well, quotes, and you follow him throughout all 3 movies. And I love Michael J. Fox. So as much as I love Biff as well, and as much as I even love George in the first movie, gotta be Marty. Ever thought of getting any tattoos? If yes, what design and where? I don't have any tattoos, but I have been thinking and telling my friends for years that I want to get a Batman tattoo. As far as what design, the Dark Knight design that's on my wallet. Like, cause not the classic one with the bat with the round edges. I mean, I like that, but I love this design with the sharp edges, and it looks very cool. I would probably just put it here, as generic as that would be. I don't know where else I would put it. I don't want it to be big and huge, like on my chest or back. That's kind of weird. If we ever cross paths in the near future, grub is on me, would you be game for it? Yeah, sure. Free food? Why not, right? But see, I say that, and that's probably how I got that stalker from a couple months ago. Just offhandedly saying, yeah, we'll hang out, and then what do you know, they take it really seriously, and they show up at your house or at your job, and they call you every day. Anyways, that was weird. Freddy Krueger. Wow. I wonder if it's Robert Englund himself. Probably not. Favorite to least favorite Ninja Turtle and why? Okay. My favorite is Raphael, because he's a badass. I know that's cliche. I know it's the typical answer, but he just is. I love the rebel side to him. How in the original movie he puts on the trench coat and a hat and just goes off by himself to collect his thoughts and be alone. It's a character that you want to watch. I could watch a Raphael film of just him, honestly. Second, I'd say Michelangelo, because he's funny. He's hilarious. And I love, like, the moment in the second movie where Splinter punished him, and while they're talking, Mikey's in the background having to count over there in the corner. It's just that he makes me laugh every time. Third, I'm gonna say Leonardo. And, I mean, he's not my favorite, but I do like him. I think he's a decent leader. He's not the best leader, but he doesn't claim to be the best leader. I see a lot of hate for Leonardo, and that, too, makes me think that's unjustified. He's a decent character. Donatello is last because I like him. He's smart. He is the one who he knows everything, and he's constantly teaching himself things. So I like that, but I'd say he probably has the least interesting character, in my opinion. But I know some people who like him the most. Chris Ludin. If Fox all of a sudden rebooted the X-Men franchise, what would be your reaction? I would be... Well, I mean, it depends, because I feel like Days of Future Past is a soft reboot to the series. Yeah, you're still going to have Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, at least for the near future. I don't know. I thought he was going to stop being the character. I hope he doesn't, but you never know. And you're still going to have the same cast, I guess, from First Class. But we're going to bring in a lot of new actors to play Cyclops, Jean, Storm, and whoever else that they decide to do. We now have Channing Tatum as Gambit, which initially I was like, what? Now I've grown to the idea. I'm kind of for it. Somebody posted like a side-by-side of Channing Tatum and Gambit. And when I looked at him, I thought to myself, wow, you know, if he had the headband and the trench coat, he could look the part. He looks the part, and he seems like he's into it. So, but if they, like, seriously rebooted it, like, just disregarded all of what we knew beforehand, I would be a little upset. Some people want that. They say it's the continuity issues. It needs to be rebooted. I like the fact that they found a way, kind of like Star Trek, to reboot it without really rebooting it, to have the best of both worlds, to keep the old fans happy while bringing in some new people, some new interests. I think what they're doing right now is best. What is the worst and most disappointing movie you have ever seen? I mean, for a couple of years now, I've been saying the worst movie I've ever seen is The Human Centipede 2. It's god-awful. It's atrocious. It's despicable for filmmaking. Now, people have told me that the actual worst movie is a Serbian film, and I haven't seen it. The things that I've heard about it, I don't want to see it. But that could possibly be the worst movie of all time. I haven't seen it. Most disappointing? I mean, that's a little tough because, like, with certain horror movies that I hate or that I think are terrible, I usually don't go into it with high expectations. So if I were to think of a movie that I had high expectations for, that I was excited about, and I couldn't wait to see it, and then was disappointed, Iron Man 3 comes to mind. And it's one of those movies where I have grown to appreciate it a little bit more. I like it, but I remember when the movie was coming out, and the trailers looked dark, and the Mandarin looked badass, and it looked like this would be the, I guess, the Dark Knight of Iron Man movies, as I know that makes it seem like every superhero should be like the Dark Knight, but I was interested to see it, and in fact, I think it was my most anticipated movie of that year. And then when I saw it, I was a little surprised by the humor throughout, but I said, okay, it's Marvel, fine. And then the Mandarin twist happened, and I was pissed off in the theater. Even my friend, who, she doesn't even really care too much about Marvel movies or superhero movies, she couldn't care less, but she too was like, what the fuck is this? and we both were ranting on it pretty hard after that, but again, I've grown to appreciate it. So, aliens question: if you became a colonial marine, what would be your weapon of choice? Colonial marine. Oh, okay. Like that video game. You know, I didn't play that video game that came out. But if I were to think of the movies, Ripley's flamethrower comes to mind, because that was badass. What is the worst and most disappointing game you have ever played. Though, I mean, okay, I'm not a huge gamer. I've played the games that I've played. Like, there's certain genres that I stick to, wrestling games, or now that more superhero games are coming out, good superhero games like the Batman games or the Spider-Man games I like. The worst game that I've played was probably Royal Rumble 2000, which was on the Sega Dreamcast. And I bought the Sega Dreamcast, and it was that game, and I think I had a Sonic game, which I liked the Sonic game. Loved it. It was fun. Then the Royal Rumble, though, that was the main game, the main reason why I bought the fucking Dreamcast, and I didn't like the game. It was pretty much a ripoff, a dumbed down, lesser version of the SmackDown 1 or SmackDown 2 game. And I got rid of it. I got rid of the game. I got rid of the Dreamcast. I said, you know what? It's not even worth it. So it's a waste. I stuck with PlayStation, and I've stayed with PlayStation ever since. I still have my Nintendo 64, though. And it still works. Wow. Turtles Fan 1990. What are your top worst remakes? Top 10 worst remakes. I actually made a list for this because there's no way I would have been able to think of this on the spot. So this is just like movies in general that have been remade. Alright, Prom Night, even though it's a guilty pleasure. Fright Night, which I know some people like the remake more. I couldn't get into it. The Day the Earth Stood Still. Such a lame movie. The Pink Panther. Why, Steve Martin? Why? The Fog. And I like Tom Welling. I do, but not that movie. One Missed Call, which, I mean, maybe that's a cheat of an answer because it's a remake of a foreign film, and I don't know if we're supposed to count that, but I put it in here because the movie fucking sucks. Footloose, because that plot works in today's time. The Island of Dr. Monroe. Oh, that movie was god-awful. The Karate Kid. I fucking hated that movie, mostly because of Jaden Smith. Atrocious. And Psycho. Vince Vaughn as Norman Bates. Yeah. Racin' Mason. How would you react if Wes Craven and John Carpenter teamed up to make a horror film? My first reaction would probably be why? Why would they be teaming up? I mean, they're two of my favorite horror movie directors. Probably two of my favorite directors in general. But teaming up, I feel like it would cause a huge clash of ideas. Because they're two different types of filmmakers. And I don't know. I don't think just because you have two great directors and if you put them together, then that means you're going to get the best horror movie ever. I don't really think I would be interested in that. His second question, would you be interested if New Line Cinema and Dimension Films teamed up to write a script where Laurie Strode, Tommy Jarvis, and Nancy Thompson all got mixed together to stop Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and Freddy Krueger? Kind of like Freddy vs. Jason vs. Michael. A Nightmare on Friday the 31st. A Nightmare on Friday the 31st. I mean, that sounds hilarious. I would love to see like a parody or maybe a fan-made thing of that. But I don't care to see a big, giant mashup because the franchises I don't think would work. Bring them together. Freddy vs. Jason I loved. I loved just the idea of having these two characters in one movie. And I kind of like the fact that we didn't merge their backstories or merge their past characters to, I mean, I don't know, would I mean, okay, look, Nancy died. As much as I hate that, as much as I hate the third movie for doing that, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the third movie, but I hate the fact that they did that. So, what would you... Laurie Strode died in Part 8. Tommy Jarvis is the only one that's still alive. Now, I know you can retcon all of this, but that would be weird. I don't know. It might be interesting, but I don't care to see any of that. Dragonfire 810. Can you make a fan-made trailer of The Wizard of Oz 2015 remake with clips from The Hunger Games, Oz, The Great and the Powerful, Batman Begins, Iron Man, and The Chronicles of Narnia? Red Wolf 316. Okay, I don't want to be an asshole. No, I'm not gonna make a fan because look, I don't really do fan made trailers. That's one. I'll sometimes do tribute videos of movies, and I'll put a bunch of clips and put it to a song that I like. So I'll do that once in a great while, but it's a lot of work, so I don't really feel like doing it, and especially using clips from like Batman Begins for Wizard of Oz, that would be weird. Well, okay, the Scarecrow, I get it, but it's just I've never seen Chronicles of Narnia either, but it's one of the oddest requests I've gotten. Red Wolf 316. What's your least favorite horror movie remake? I guess I answered this technically in the top 10 worst remakes. Psycho from 1998. It's the same fucking movie. Like, why would I ever rewatch the remake when it's the original movie, which is up to date? Marquise Anderson, have you ever seen the film May? It is a very, very underrated horror film that is very creepy. You should check it out sometime. No, I haven't seen it, and I haven't heard of it, but I did look it up before this, and I will say it looks a little interesting. I mean, you have Angela Beatis, who played Carrie in the 2002 remake of Carrie. I don't really care for that version, but I thought she was a decent actress. And Anna Faris is apparently in this movie, and I don't think I've ever seen her. I mean, I might have, and I'm just forgetting, but I don't think I've ever seen her in like a serious movie, let alone a horror movie. I'm used to her in comedies and spoofs, so I'd see it just for that alone, for the curiosity. Clarson Lopez, what's your favorite horror movie of the 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, and so far in the 2010s? Wow. Okay. The 70s, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I know you have a lot of movies from that decade. The Exorcist, Halloween, Carrie, but that original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, holy fuck, was it creepy and scary. And still to this day, it's so trippy to watch. From the 80s, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. I mean, that's another decade of great horror movies. Halloween 2 is my favorite Halloween movie. You have Friday the 13th, pretty much all of them, but Part 6 especially is my favorite one. You have the original Child's Play. My God, the 80s was amazing, but yeah, Nightmare. The 90s, Scream. Scream is my favorite horror movie of all time, so of course. The 2000s, Saw. 2004. Because like a lot of people shit on the Saw movies. And I mean, hey, to each their own, but when I think of that first one and how much it blew my mind in the theater with that ending and just the Jigsaw character and the intrigue behind him, the backstory, Gordon and Adam in the bathroom, it's a great, great movie. And the 2010s, I mean, have there been great horror movies in the 2010s? I mean, it's only been 5 years. I'll give that. But I'm joking. There has been some good horror movies these last 5 years. Tucker and Dale vs. Evil was really good. I liked it for being a different original type of plot and doing that cliched, like, hey, here are these teenagers who think that these hillbillies are the evil killers, But in fact, their own stupidity and actions is what's causing them to die, and these guys are actually nice people. Really surprised me with that. And The Cabin in the Woods, which these two movies kind of have the same thing in common, where they're mostly on humor, I think. But I really loved Cabin in the Woods when I first saw it. I loved it. The Real Heel. What's your favorite and least favorite WrestleMania of all time? Wow, a wrestling question. My favorite WrestleMania, WrestleMania 17. Because that WrestleMania, especially looking back on it, I didn't realize it at the time, of course. Because at the time, how old was I? WrestleMania 17, that was 2001. So I was 12, maybe? Shit. Yeah. Yeah, 12 or 13. But so many years later, Rock versus Stone Cold Steve Austin in the main event. Undertaker versus Triple H. You had that hardcore triple threat match with Raven, Big Show, and Kane, and they fought all through the arena. That was awesome. You had, I remember, the gimmick Battle Royal, which, I mean, nowadays it probably wouldn't mean as much because they're always bringing old wrestlers back for the nostalgic feeling. But back then, they never did that back then. So that was special. That was cool. A lot of them I didn't know at the time, but going back on it, I'm like, wow, that was something. And Bobby the Brain Heenan doing commentary for the very last time during that. Yeah. And then you had TLC. TLC 2. Edge, Christian, the Hardy Boys, the Dudley Boys. Woo! It doesn't get any better or as exciting as that time period was. My least favorite, I actually had to go back because I bought this a couple years ago, the WrestleMania Anthology. And WrestleMania 11 is a pretty lame WrestleMania. The main event is Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor. Lawrence Taylor is a football, or was a football player. LT. Now I get it, they got a lot of publicity. It's probably not a whole lot different compared to Big Show versus Floyd Mayweather from a few years ago. The difference is that wasn't the main event. This was. Lawrence Taylor main evented a WrestleMania, and CM Punk never did. And you had Shawn Michaels versus Diesel for the title. That was okay, but Bret Hart versus Bob Backlund, I didn't care about. Owen Hart and Yokozuna versus the Smoking Guns. King Kong Bundy versus The Undertaker was a very slow and boring match. Not one of Taker's best. Razor Ramon versus Jeff Jarrett. I barely remember it. It's a very forgettable and lackluster WrestleMania. Sorry for the wrestling talk. I didn't mean to go on for that long, but I never talk about wrestling anymore. Maybe I should do that some more. Anyways, guys, that was fun. That is all of the questions, at least for now. Who knows? If I get more questions, maybe I'll let the time in between go a little longer. And if I get more questions, maybe I'll do a part 3. Who knows? Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a subscriber. And thanks for the questions. Later!